Hi, this is Longvo. Today I'm analyzing one of my games in the Burlington Chess Club. It's July the 17th, 2012, and I'm playing black. I'm currently rated 1498. My opponent, Ron Pushke, rated 1592, playing white. So he starts off with d4, and I respond with knight to f6. He goes knight to f3 and e6 with the idea of opening the diagonal for the bishop. He goes e3. So at this point, it seems to me that he's a little bit passive because, right, like nobody's fighting for this square here. So when I saw that, I was kind of glad. So I go c5. Challenging the center, and I'm hoping that he would take here so I could develop with temple. So he goes c3, so quite passive. So now I decide to put, get more space and get a hold of the center with d5. So now he takes d takes c, and bishop takes c5. So I'm happy with that because I have two pieces out and he only has one knight, so I feel that I'm doing well and my center is pretty good as well. So bishop to d3. I guess he's getting ready to castle, and knight to c6. So now my idea here is to try to get control of the center even more. So knight to d2. So this looks like a little bit of a London system, except the dark squared bishop is still within the pawn chain. And so here e5 with the idea of forking the bishop and the knight, and he goes bishop to b5. So here I'm also happy that he already spent one move with the bishop to d3 and now he's spending another one. I didn't really pay attention to this pawn here, so I think that was a small mistake, but anyways I went a6, putting pressure on the bishop. So he removes the defender of e5 with bishop takes c6. So now this pawn here is hanging, so I didn't even see that one. Anyways, I took b takes c6, and he takes with knight takes e5. Also, at this point he's up a pawn, but I feel that I have a huge lead in development, so I wasn't too worried. So now my pawn here is hanging. So I developed the queen with temple to d6, attacking his knight. And I guess he didn't want to move the knight again and lose another temple, so he goes knight to the d knight to f3, defending the knight. So this looks good for me, and I decide to find a way to put more pressure on the semi-open file, the e file. So I decide to castle short, and he does the same thing. And rook to e8, putting pressure on the knight. So I was okay with exchanging one rook for two knights here, so it was okay. And I really feel that I'm up in development, and all my pieces are aiming towards his king, so I'm happy, and he doesn't really have any threats from towards my king. So he retreats with knight to d3, threatening my my dark squared bishop. So bishop to b6 and queen to c2. So so I'm not sure why he played that move, and I guess he's x-raying the h7 pawn. So, but he doesn't have a light squared bishop anymore. So I guess he's probably thinking of using his knights here. So I guess I'm a big fan of rook lifts, so I go rook to e4, blocking his e pawn here. blocking the X-ray, and this is sort of like an outpost because unless he moves his knight, then he can move the pawn to chase away the rook. This rook here is quite annoying for him, and that way I don't need to weaken my pawns to activate my rook. So the idea here is probably to play rook to g4 or h4 eventually after the knight moves. So he sees that, I guess. So knight to f4, blocking my rook, and I guess the queen is putting pressure on the rook there. So I'm not really worried. So now, you know, I guess I could think of developing the bishop, but I was also trying to be more prophylactic and try to find out where his next move would be, right? So if I didn't move and it was his turn, where would he go? So he probably you know, try to chase away the rook or something. But before that, I guess I didn't like the X-ray on the h7, so I go bishop to f5. You know, maybe I should have gone here, I'm not sure. But he felt the pressure, so he got his queen out of the discovered attack there. So queen to d2. So I feel right now I'm doing well. His dark squared bishop is totally blocked off, along with his a rook. The queen is not threatening anything. The only two guys defending the king are the knights versus my knight, bishop, rook, and queen. This bishop is not that active, but you know, you know, maybe I would find a way to activate the other rook. Oh, so at this point I'm thinking same thing, try to be prophylactic. What would his next move be? So probably the knight here to try to chase away the rook. So and also I was trying to find out like how I could chase away the f4 knight here. So I decided to go h6, preventing him from chasing away my rook, and the next move would probably be g5, chasing away this knight here. And the knight doesn't really have a good square to go to because this square is defended by the knight. If he goes here, I would gladly exchange. So now he goes knight to d4. I guess putting pressure on my light squared bishop, and so I guess here I decided that my dark squared bishop wasn't really active, so I decided to exchange. So bishop takes d4, and he goes e takes d4. So now here the e file is completely open, and I guess it gives his queen a little bit more activity here. So x-raying the h6 pawn there. So my next move is to chase away the knight with g5, and also blocking off the queen, and really making the dark squared bishop inactive. So knight to e2. So this is where I complete the rook lift with rook to h4, threatening checkmate. Here I don't know if I should have gone here, perhaps pinning this pawn here, but anyways, I think that was an okay move, and I was also being a little bit crammed inside here, so I wasn't sure if that was the best move, but at least I activated my rook. So he goes oh yeah, so with the idea that if he tries to counter with h3, then I would probably go knight to g4, also threatening checkmate, and if he takes, then it's checkmate, right? So that's what I was thinking. And if he went g3, I would probably then pin that pawn, and this way he somehow created a little bit of weakness there. So you know, I would probably later on somehow activate the knights and do some sort of a sacrifice there, because I feel that I have more pieces attacking the king, and he's defending with only, really just the knight here. The rook here is not really defending much, but it's actually blocking his king. So after knight to g3, yeah, here I spent a lot of time. I think I spent like 40 minutes here, because there wasn't really anything that I could do, because he's threatening the bishop here, and obviously it's not a real threat, because if he, let's say if I go some move here and he takes, then it's checkmate, right? So I knew the bishop wasn't really in trouble. I wasn't sure what to do if I go the knight here. Whoops, let's go back here. So if I go the knight here, then it blocks off my bishop, right? So same thing, if he takes, then it's checkmate. But then what if he goes here, right? So then my knight is in a really bad position here, and the bishop is also hanging. So I don't know if that would have been good. Also, if I went the knight here, attacking the queen and attacking his knight, let's say if he moves the queen and I take with the knight, then my fear is once he takes with his pawn here, it's like a double attack, and this bishop is hanging, and plus the pawn taking on g3 here blocks off my queen attack. So I was kind of, I was trying to figure out how to continue my attack, and I felt pretty bad here because it seemed like I had more pieces, but there was no real good moves. And I even thought of moving this pawn up, but then what would happen if he perhaps, I forget, but I really thought about it. But what if he went here, let's say, and if I take, then he would somehow activate the rook, and it just seemed to me that my attack was really failing at this point. And so I don't know. So I was kind of spending a lot of time, and I wasn't sure what to do, right? So the knight here could have been an option, to try to somehow exchange with this knight and mess up the pawns here or something like that. But same thing. Well, what would happen if he then went I don't know, something like this, right? So he would sort of block off the queen here, and even if I took with the knight eventually, right? So if he goes somewhere and I take, then if he takes this pawn, the knight on g3 here, it's really blocking my whole attack, and same problem with the hanging bishop. So I thought my best move, was rook to e8, but really it's not a really good move, because, right, like I have the initiative here, and I guess I wasn't good enough or patient enough to find a better move, and all I could think of was trying to perhaps bring in another attacker, like the other rook into the attack. But I should have perhaps retreated the bishop here. But then I didn't want to retreat, because then I felt that now the initiative is all gone, and then once he starts like developing his pawns or something like that, he could somehow get his other pieces into the defense. So I didn't like my position at this point, but it's like I felt that I had the potential to win here, because I had more pieces, and all his pieces were inactive, but I guess I wasn't patient enough, or I wasn't good enough to find stronger move. So, oops, so rook to e8. Not really happy about that move, and I spent 40 minutes on that. So he goes h3, so really neutralizing the threat here. Same thing. And this is kind of funny because now I was like exhausted from thinking. I probably should have simply retreated and reorganized the attack. But then I spent like maybe 2 minutes thinking about this move, and I was like kind of tired, so it should have been the opposite, right? It should have been like perhaps I should have retreated the bishop quickly on the previous move and thought about sacrificing here longer, right? So before sacrificing a piece here, I just, I needed to make sure it was a concrete sacrifice. So right here, I didn't even think of the future moves really. So it was just like, you know what? So I'm gonna take bishop takes h3. He's gonna take back, which he did. Then I would take with the rook, takes h3, and then somehow his king is vulnerable, and then I have some multiple threats coming here. So it was sort of like a hunch more than concrete calculation, and also time pressure, I guess, or just impatience. And I was just lazy, I guess, right? So I should have thought about that move more carefully. So here, king to g2, attacking my rook, and also defending the knight with the king. So at this point, same thing. I was getting into time trouble here. I wasn't sure what was the best move. I still felt I had the initiative. I wasn't sure how to bring the other pieces into the attack. So I went g4, supporting the rook, so that it doesn't tie my knight down. So perhaps I could move the knight to h4 and try to exchange eventually, and then somehow bring the other rook into the action, or king to h7, rook to g8, something like that. So I was feeling, like my whole attack was failing here, and I knew it, right? So so that bishop sacrifice I think was a mistake. So then he goes queen to f4, which is a good move because now he's offering an exchange, and once he does that, if I take, he would develop the bishop, and then it's pretty much over once the other rook comes into defense, and I'm out of ammunition here. So I didn't want to exchange queens, and I guess there's a couple of places I could have gone because I needed to stay connected to the knight here. So I decided to go to queen to d8, so I wouldn't block the e file for the bishop, because eventually I would try to exchange the knight. So bishop to e3, closing the e file, developing his bishop, and now I sort of knew it was kind of over. This pawn here is stuck with this knight here, and the rook is stuck with the pawn, and it's just my attack was going nowhere. So I thought maybe I should go here and try to exchange knights and open the diagonal for the queen in here, but by doing this I left this pawn hanging. So then he goes queen takes g4 check, forking the rook. So my only move here is knight to g5, and I felt like resigning at this point, and it was pretty much over. So he goes bishop takes g5. So I knew here that my rook is hanging, right? So rook takes g3 check, king takes g3, h takes g5. It's pretty much over at this point. Then he goes rook to e1, and I resigned. So I think my lesson here is not to be lazy, and really make sure before I sacrifice any pieces that it's very concrete, and at least I should look at the next 5 possible moves or so. instead of going on a hunch. So that's the game, and it was a good learning experience. So I learned that I wasn't as patient as I should have been, or I was just um, maybe I need to work more on my tactics, and just positional play, right? So if I simply retreated the bishop, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and just reorganize myself, and then his king was lots of pressure there, and plus I had a lead in development, so I should have played better.